Okay. Sorry about that. This is my first time live streaming, and I didn't realize it wouldn't automatically start. Okay. All right, so I'm going to wait a few minutes to actually start the ritual to give people a chance to log in. And so I'm going to talk about a few things. If you are watching this video later after the initial broadcast, then I will have a comment at the top of the description saying how many minutes in the actual ritual starts. So I hope all of you can hear me well. I will not have any music playing because of copyright issues. So if you have music that you want to play, by all means, feel free. This is a formal ritual. I'm going to be doing a full circle casting. If you want to join in on casting and dispelling the circle more than just lending your intent and watching, then you will need one candle, or if you want, you can have a full elemental setup. When I start the ritual, you can light the candle if you're using, I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous. You can light the candle whenever feels right for you, be that when I light the first candle on my altar or when I light the last candle on my altar, and same when I close the circle. I am Sydney Eileen. I am an artist and a lifelong witch. I have a blog called The Balancing Path on Pathos if you want to go see some of the other things that I've been writing about. This is going to be a fully inclusive, non-gendered ritual. So I will not be making any calls to God or goddess or divine femininity or divine masculinity. I will not be calling watchtowers. I use a completely different format that I created myself. And I will explain the symbolism as I go through it. I will be asking if you have deities or spirits or ancestors that you would like to invoke to aid with the ritual. You can mention them in chat, and I will say their names and ask them if they would like to lend their aid to the ritual. I will be invoking Aradia. So this ritual is for Black Lives Matter, and that means intersectionality. So it means Black people that are LGBTQ, people who are disabled, people who are neurodivergent, people who are any kind of person. Indigenous people, any other marginalized people. Racism is a giant systemic problem in American society, Western society, and frankly, the entire world. And it's going to require a lot of changes, and it's going to take a lot of hard work. So the point of this ritual tonight is to provide magical aid to all of that work. It's an insane amount of ground to cover, the amount of things that need to be addressed, and the amount of things that need to change in order for true equality to exist. Changes internally in each of us and changes externally in our communities and society. It's daunting, It's huge, but it needs to be done. So the purpose of this ritual is to lend power and aid to the people who are fighting the fight, no matter how they are fighting it, because it takes people of all kinds. It needs the protesters, it needs the people writing, it needs the people educating, it needs the people creating art, it needs the people supporting the people who are out there fighting. It takes that and so much more. So we are going to give them our aid. This is a worldwide broadcast and also not restricted to just this night. So the energies of tonight, this is coming up on sunset where I live, the evening of the solstice. So those energies will be carried with the video, and the energies of everyone who watches this and lends this work their aid now and in the future from where they are, and their circumstances will be added to the power of the working. So we're coming up. All right, I'm going to go on ahead and get the ritual started. So I have 5 elemental candle holders. I am pouring some water into the bottom of them now. These are designed to symbolize the interconnectedness of the elements and everything that exists, because I am a firm believer that nothing exists in a vacuum and everything is interconnected in all of its beautiful, glorious diversity. So the candle holders are clear and contain space within to represent air. They have rocks to represent earth. There is water in them to represent water, and each has a candle to show that it is active, which represents fire. And all of those together combine to be able to lend power to the individual elements represented by their colors. I also chose a crossroads configuration tonight with spirit at the center, fire and water balanced, air and earth balanced, not oppositional. They are complementary. We are at a crossroads of personal growth and development, and we want society to go down the road that provides for equality for everyone. I placed it in an X pattern relative to sitting and where the screen is, because I'm a nerd and I like the symbolism of the X-Men. So it's nice. All right. All right, so to start the ritual, we'll sit and breathe. And as we breathe, we are connecting to each other through this screen, through the internet, to create a working that has impact worldwide. We start in earth. Foundation, solidity, prosperity, growth, wholeness. We acknowledge that earth exists in all things, in the cells that make us up, in the earth below our feet, in the natures of all the things that we do. We bring it into this circle and ask it to provide the foundation for our working. Solid place on which to stand, from which we can move, from which we can grow, from which we can affect change. Next, we light the candle for water. We acknowledge the water in everything, from our bodies to the air we breathe, motion, flow, our emotions. Feel the water, feel it move. Water can wear down mountains. Water follows the path of least resistance, and it gets things done. And we feel that water that connects all of us. We light the candle for fire. Our passions, our anger, our needs, our frustrations, our ability to move and act, to get things done. Feel the fire that exists all around us and know that it connects us, and feel it amplify the area. Now I light the candle for air. It is invisible. It feeds us, it sustains us. It's our intellect. It can be fickle. It can be still. It moves in mysterious ways. It's the ideas, the concepts that need to be. Now we light the candle for spirit. That intangible spark of consciousness and divinity, that it exists in all of us, every single one, and in everything, and in every place. Know that that connects us and brings us into power and into potency. It is an awakening. It can be terribly frightening and awe-inspiring. All of these elements are ever present and ever connected and ever a part of us and a part of everything else. We bring them here and we amplify their power. We bring them up and in and out, that they may strengthen our working area and connect us to each other, no matter the distance, that they may nurture and support that which we wish to achieve and ward off that which would harm our working, that none may enter that would bring ill will and does not fully support equality and justice for everyone. Feel those energies and know that their support is with you always. and that when things get tough, it can protect you, and it will protect us here today and keep away those who would cause us it. So we're here today because we need to bring about change, because we need to support changes in the world. I got water in my candle. Sorry. There will always be difficulties. There will always be roadblocks. There will always be problems. You too? I have never gotten water in the candles before. So, excuse me for one moment. Except, focus on the fact that this is a difficult fight. We are fighting tremendous, entrenched, centuries-long entrenched injustices. It's not easy. It is damned hard. And there will be setbacks, and there will be problems. And the most important part is to always get back up and keep going. Because if you let them get you down, that's when they win. I will be back in just a moment. I also live right off of a train track. So if the train goes by while I'm doing this, we will have to pause and keep that in mind. All right. The elements never left us just because the candle was dark for a minute. Air is always present, and a candle is not required. Same with spirit. Even when we die, spirit is still present. For that is the part that is eternal and lives with the universe. If you have any food or drink with you for the ritual, eat or drink whenever you need to ground you or to help you focus. And breathe with me for a minute as we bring our focus back to our purpose. To continue on as we must. For while there is a single person that suffers simply for being who they are, that is unacceptable. I do not preach tolerance. I preach acceptance. because tolerance implies that you merely are nice to someone to their face while continuing to engage in all of the harmful microaggressions that exist against the person that you are tolerating. I preach acceptance. We need to accept each other for being the individuals that we are. We need to accept each other for being any color skin. We need to accept each other. We need to accept each other for whatever our gender is. We need to accept each other for whatever our sexualities are. We need to accept each other for whatever our religions are. We need to accept each other for whatever our disabilities may be. We need to accept each other for however our minds work. We need to accept each other fully and completely. And we need to refuse to tolerate those who hold hate and discrimination and racism, xenophobia, bigotry, misogyny in their hearts and their minds. Because when you tolerate people like that who act on those things, they don't leave those things. They bring them with them and they act on them, and you create an environment that is hostile to everyone else. So you cannot ever tolerate that. Which also involves looking deep in ourselves, because all of us have internalized racism, misogyny, bigotry, and xenophobia, and ableism that we were raised with, that are part of the background noise of society. We all have those things, and it is a vigilance on ourselves and others to learn about them and accept them and move past them. And like with any self-change, it takes a lot of hard work, and it can be very intimidating, and it can be very frightening, because change is uncomfortable, even when it's good. So we have to sit with that, and we have to work with that. At this time, I would like you to ask, with consent, for anyone who might like to help and support these efforts of ours and this working that we are doing. Whoever they are. If you'd like me to say their name, please write it in the chat box. Otherwise, just think of them or say them out loud where you are. This can be a deity, it can be a spirit, it can be a hero from a legend, it can be an ancestor, it can be the beloved dead of any kind. It doesn't matter. But ask them to pay attention and to support what we are doing here tonight. I bring with me tonight Aradia. A witch of mythology and modern storytelling, who Background is hotly debated, but at the end of the day, there's the train. At the end of the day, exactly where she came from, exactly when her stories were first told, is immaterial. Because, as with any spirit, mythical figure, or deity, the stories are as much metaphor as based in truth, if not entirely metaphor. And it is their spiritual meaning, their existence as spirit beings, that gives them power and potency. She is a witch and a patron to the outcast, the downtrodden, the lost, those who fight for lost causes, those who fight for the underdog, the persecuted, the spit upon. And she is already lending her power to this cause, for this cause is her cause. For all those who experience inequities and discrimination are with her, as they are with so many other deities and spirits who stand for the downtrodden, who stand in the face of oppression, who are willing to go toe to toe with those who hate. May all of them, named and unnamed, who would support and nurture and aid the cause of equality, the cause of Black Lives Matter. May they find their eyes and their attention upon this working, that they may know where it is and that they may give it that aid that they want to give. And may all those who would work against us, who would seek to oppress, who would seek to discriminate, who enjoy the suffering of others, may they find themselves turned away or cursed upon for trying to interfere. Today was the day of the summer solstice in the northern hemisphere, the winter solstice in the southern. It is the longest day, the shortest night where I am, the shortest day and the longest night where others are. And since this is a global working, both apply. It is a transition here where I am. The weather is mostly supportive. Crops are in full force. There is bounty. There is plenty. We can turn our attention to making changes. We are out in the world doing things. The winter solstice, they're protecting, huddled. We're ready for new things to spring forth. It is the decline of the patriarchy and white supremacy. It is the rise of equality for Black and Indigenous lives, intersectionally for all of them. It is also the night of the new moon, a time for cleansing, a time for banishing, as the world turns towards the waxing moon, heading towards fulfillment. It is a time of change. We are in a time of profound change, and we can turn it in a direction that benefits everyone. There is also a solar eclipse. It's hard to describe the impact of a solar eclipse. I saw one a couple years ago, and the world turned upside down, and it looked nothing like it had before. The solar eclipse gives us an opportunity for the entire world to turn itself on its head and see things from a new perspective. And that is what we all must do in order to make the changes we need to make, because the established perspective is one of white supremacy and patriarchy. In order to find a new way, we have to shift how we see things so that we can see everything and make the changes that need to be made. There are also multiple planetary retrogrades happening right now, again, which turns everything on its head. Tonight is about change. And change is a scary, difficult thing for the vast majority of people. We like our routines. We like our comforts. We like to know what to expect. We like to know how the world works. And even if we want better, it can be beyond terrifying to completely change your world and the world around you. It's part of the reason people stay in abusive relationships, abusive jobs, around abusive family, around abusive communities, in abusive religions. Not to say the entire religion is abusive, but each church, each working community is a facet and a microcosm of religion. It is different. That's why people who want to find the right path will bounce from church to church to church sometimes, even if they're Christian, because they're looking for the one that matches them. And each church does things a little different. Each coven does things a little different. Each community, each religious community does things differently. And thus their religion is slightly different from every other religion. Because religion can carry here and here, not out there. Out there is our community. So I challenge you to look within your heart, your mind, your soul, and your gut when you feel fear, and ask yourself, why am I afraid? Am I afraid because I don't know what will happen? Am I afraid because I don't know if this will work? Am I afraid because I am challenging the foundations of reality that I was taught and that I rely upon for stability in my life? And when you find the answer to the question, what am I afraid of? You can look it in the eye and say, no, I need to do this. And you can take what you're afraid of and you can bring it in and you can heal it and you can either let it go or teach it to come with you on the new path. So, one of the workings specifically that we are adding to tonight are sigils. These are all sigils that can be found online. The links are in the description of this video. And I do recommend going to the pages that they come from to read in detail about how they were created and what they mean, because spell work, even spell work you are borrowing from other people, works best if you understand it completely. If you understand the symbology, if you understand the meaning, you can use these sigils in your own working. I am going to be going through them in order from power to self-care, because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't help anyone else. So you have to take care of yourself and you have to take care of your fellows. And you have to take breaks when you need to so that you can continue the fight. From there, we will move slowly towards sigils that are for helping the more active parts of the movement and eradicating white supremacy. The first sigil is the power sigil. Now, complete. So the power sigil represents protection, the 5 elements, balance of conflicting identities, potential, seed of truth, inner calm, waxing and waning cycles, protect potent action, and banishment and manifestation. So the power sigil is to give potency and power to everything we do. It is to understand the cycles of movement and that we all must act and we all must rest. And that rest does not mean we aren't helping. Rest means that we are doing what we need to do in order to continue and to have power. So take a few breaths, lend your energy, lend your intent. Next is the stress and anxiety management sigil. The stress and anxiety management sigil is peace and calmness, hope, acceptance, the ability to relax, restful sleep, concentration and focus, and accept help. Because stress and anxiety are affecting anyone who cares about what's happening right now. You can't help it. Even if you're acting, even if you're out there fighting every moment you have, even if you're staying at home, it causes stress. Change is stress, even when it's good. So what you need to do is you need to be able to stop and rest, accept help from others when you need it, to be able to be calm, to be able to rest, to be able to get sleep, and to be able to accept that you aren't at 100% all the time. No one is. And hope. Because if we don't have hope, we don't have a reason to keep fighting. Next is the healing of wounds sigil. This one incorporates patience, recovery, prosperity, growth, release, receptive, stability, process, and peace. Because healing takes time, it takes patience, it takes growth. It is a process, and you have to be receptive to all stages of the process in order to be able to progress through them. But as you do, you can achieve prosperity and you can achieve growth. And there are a lot of people hurting. Because if people weren't hurting, this work wouldn't need to happen. There are more of us who are hurting than not. Next is the anti-burnout sigil. Abundance, maintain a sense of balance, amplify good health, highlight light that inspires, cleanses, and invigorates, protection, allow for rooting and grounding, a focus on other, the umbrella community. This is hard work. I don't think that can be said enough. And if you feel like you're faltering, if you feel like you're failing, if you feel like you're burning out, that is natural. So lean on your community, take the time you need, and be there for other people when you can. Because we have to cycle out and rest to avoid burning out. Next is the sigil for protecting protesters. This one has been making quite the rounds online. You may have seen it before. The charges for this sigil are: prevent arrest of protesters, provide stamina for protesters, good weather for protesters, that their message be seen, visible, heard, and have impact, resilience for detainees, and fuel hope. I don't think there's much more that can be said on that one. Everyone who's out there on the streets fighting for police reform, fighting for any kind of reform that supports equality, is facing one hell of an adversary. They need all the support and help they can get, that they can be safe, that they can live to fight another day, that their message be heard and understood. Whether it's this cycle of protests or another one, because this isn't going to be over anytime soon. This one is the 2020 Freedom Sigil. It includes revelation, perception, and reception of the truth, justice and actions that serve justice, accountability, protection of individuals and exposure of injustice, progress towards a better future for all, lightning, triumph of integrity, clear the tower and debris to build a better tomorrow, forward momentum, tear, trebuchet, spine, healing and hope, strength and power to the people, motivation at root level to bring change throughout. This sigil is about supporting and manifesting changes that are needed throughout society and to deal with all of the things that are happening here in 2020. I'm going to put a little more incense on my charcoal. Okay. Next up is the Root to Sky sigil. It is empowered with magnify, increase compassion, security, peace of mind for the people, support for the environment, especially among leadership, protection from fear and awareness of what's going on, engage, sustain community motivation, effective and timely justice. So this is about laying the foundations and following it on up to be able to achieve true equality and justice and to tear down those who would support injustice and profit off of it. that involves taking care of everything from ourselves to our communities, to our societies, to the world at large. Lastly, is the sigil for disillusion of hate. Empowered for this sigil is cleansing and purification of the spirit to remove hate. Tolerance of diversity, not hate. Reordering. Forward movement, equal justice, self-love and love. Education. Power to change point of view. Increase understanding. Activate sympathy, empathy, and compassion. Promote peace and harmony. This is about breaking down the internalized hate, white supremacy, any kind of hate, bigotry, misogyny, xenophobia, ableism, all of them, so that we can see and understand them better and work to get rid of them, because they don't serve any good purpose, ever. We lend our energy, the ever-present energy of the elements. We turn towards these purposes and towards the workings that anyone else is doing, towards the work anyone else is doing, that it may be supported, that it may be successful, that they may take the time that they need to rest when they need to take it, that the fight may continue. That we can rotate our efforts so someone is always actively making things happen, while others are quietly healing, or loudly healing, if that does it for you. We can look inside, that we can accept it and listen when people tell us that things we do are problematic, that we can appreciate the cultures and the practices of others and learn about them and love them without being rude, without being invasive, without appropriating things that are sacred to other people and using them flippantly. We can find love for ourselves, for our friends, for everyone else in the world, for the things that make them unique, for the things that make them not exactly like us. Homogeny is a frightful thing. Diversity is glorious and amazing. We all need to recognize that and internalize that. It's not us versus them, it's us and them. And even if they are incomprehensibly, vastly different, we're all still human. And we can learn about each other. And we can love each other even in our differences. So I challenge each of you to face your fears, to be uncomfortable, so that you can find that joy always. Because if you live in fear, and if you don't allow yourself to change, you can never truly embrace that love and that appreciation. So I challenge you to listen when people who are marginalized tell you that something is problematic, even if it is outside of your personal experience, because nothing is within everyone's experience. We all experience different things. We all experience different problems. So listen to them and do what you can to change the things you do that are problematic. I challenge you in your community to work to avoid language that is less than inclusive. So that means avoiding terms like black magic and white magic, which exist entirely because of racism. It means avoiding using words like shaman to describe whatever earth-based religion you want to describe. It means avoiding using white sage if you're not part of one of those traditions. And I know people are fond of white sage. It involves doing the hard work and changing things that you may enjoy but didn't realize hurt other people. And while it's absolutely true that nothing is capable of being done without causing any harm, we can work to try and cause as little harm as possible and change what we do when we find out it is causing harm. That's part of being educated. That is part of being open to education and open to the experiences of others. Avoid using language that is heavily gendered because it excludes people who are not male or female. And there are people who are not male and female with every ethnicity. It is part of being human. They are a minority. We are a minority. But we exist everywhere. And if you don't think you know anyone who is non-binary, they may just not have ever felt comfortable telling you that. Because I guarantee you know at least one person who is. We aren't that rare. It's about doing anything you can to make sure that when you do things for your community, that it is accessible to people with disabilities as much as possible. And that's because there are people with disabilities of every ethnicity. And it can be one of the hardest to be inclusive for, because disabilities vary tremendously. And the accommodations that are needed to allow people to participate vary dramatically depending on the disability. I thought I understood disability when I was young. I did not. I didn't understand disability until I became disabled. And much of what makes me disabled does prevent me from attending things through no one's fault, even if they're trying to be accommodating. When I do attend things, I need a seat. That's an easy accommodation to make. Wheelchair ramps are a standard accommodation. Making sure that you, if at all possible, have accommodations for deaf people or blind people is relatively easy to do because those are common disabilities. But don't be afraid to ask the people in your community what would make it easier for them if they are disabled. Because you can't accommodate every disabled person without knowing what they need. But if you are receptive to making those accommodations, it can make the world of difference for them being able to be a full part of your community and be able to fully give what they have to give. Because we still have things we can do and things that we can give, even if it's a little harder sometimes than it would be if we were able-bodied. I challenge you to listen to stories from cultures other than your own. I challenge you to watch movies and television and plays that feature people that don't look like you. I challenge you to read books written by people who don't look like you, who might come from wildly different cultures. I challenge you to try to have a better understanding of history, and I challenge you to avoid supporting people who actively engage in any form of hate, racism, bigotry, xenophobia, misogyny, ableism, the whole gamut. I challenge you to pay attention to who you are supporting by buying the things they make, reading the things that they write, watching the things that they produce. 20 years ago, that would have been a much more challenging thing, but in this era with social media being what it is, it can be done. I challenge you to actually bother to check. And we all have internalized problems that we might need to work on. But as one fantasy author has proven, sometimes people will accept that they've messed up and work to change, even if they continue making mistakes. And other people will double down on being hate mongers. So watch for the signs and pay attention and support people who do that. That means not buying books about European shamanism, because there's no such thing. not buying books about indigenous traditions that are written by people who are both not of that ethnicity and not supported by that community. Because traditions are here. They're not here. They are here. They're where we find our home. They're based in culture. They're based in personality. They are learned. They are not inherent. And our traditions are not the same as our ancestors' traditions because we practice them differently, even if we carry on the traditions of our ancestors. And there are times when someone might practice a tradition legitimately that doesn't look the way you expect. But if they are practicing it legitimately, they will have the support and backing of their community. If they're surrounded by nothing but white people, and even if someone has the backing of their community, colored voices are marginalized. Colored voices are ignored and overlooked in favor of the white voices. So if you are part of such a tradition, it is your responsibility to uplift the more marginalized people in your community. And if you're organizing an event, it is your responsibility to uplift the more marginalized voices of that community, if any are available, provided they don't have glaring reasons not to have them present. We need to uplift our artists and artisans and practitioners of color, all of them. They deserve a better place than the scraps that they have historically been thrown. And if you aren't getting any such people applying, look closely. Is it because there genuinely is no one with an interest? Or is it because you didn't make sure everyone who would be attending your event knew that you believe in intersectional equality and Black Lives Matter? Because all the people I know that support Black Lives Matter are the people who genuinely care about everyone. So, on this night of change, profound change, when the world turns upside down and we open our eyes to see things from entirely new perspectives, and we dedicate ourselves to seeing things from new perspectives, always into the future. We open ourselves up to creating a new path from this crossroads we are at. wherein everyone can have genuine equality, where everyone's voice will be heard and valued, no matter what they look like, no matter who they love, no matter their gender, no matter what they're capable of, no matter how their mind works. Because the strongest, most resilient, most beautiful communities we can create are those where we treasure those differences. Because just as the elements are each different and distinct, they require each other to exist. They don't exist in a vacuum. They are not oppositional bastions, just as we are not oppositional bastions unless we create those barriers. And those barriers have been created, but we can break them down and allow that beautiful unity in our diversity to allow us to celebrate our individuality and our beauty while we work together to create a whole, beautiful future that provides equality to everyone, where Black lives genuinely do matter to everyone, to the law, to the government, to our communities, to our religions, to our families, to everyone, where Indigenous lives matter to everyone. Where queer and genderqueer lives matter to everyone, because we are all people and we are all part of society. And society is stronger and more beautiful and more resilient when we have all those perspectives working together in harmony instead of fighting each other. I want to thank everyone who tuned in, both now and in the months or years to come. I want to thank you for deciding to embark upon this journey and take on this fight. Whether you decided today or you decided 80 years ago, I want to thank you for being here and for doing the work, because it's hard and it's amazing. And together, with all of us, we can create the future we want, the future we need. We acknowledge and thank the energies of spirit, the divine spark that is consciousness, that is existence, that is divinity, that exists within all of us, everything and everywhere. And though I will blow out this candle, We know that it is still present, but we're letting down the barrier and sending forth the energy that has been gathered to continue to do the work, to send out ripples through the pond that will continue to affect and support this work and tangential work now and into the future and into the past. I thank and acknowledge the energies of air, the breath that sustains life, the air, the planet, the spaces between the things, intellect, understanding, ideas. Can be difficult to see, but can strike suddenly and powerfully, or gently push things along like a boat on the water. And as I blow out this candle, air doesn't stop. It continues. And the work we have done here will radiate out and continue to affect and support the changes that we need to see happen in the world. I acknowledge and thank the energies of fire, the chemical reactions that sustain all of existence, from our biology to the sun. It is action, it is passion, it is determination, it is irrevocable change. And as I blow out this candle, the energies of fire do not cease. They move out into the world, continuing to affect the changes that we need to see, irrevocably altering the path of history, the path of society, the path of the world, so that we can achieve true equality. I thank and acknowledge the energies of water, from the water that is within our bodies and sustains us, to the waters of the earth, to all the fluid things that exist in physical reality, to the emotions and the subtler passions, spirituality, love, caring. And know that as I blow out this candle, water doesn't cease to exist, but the energies of water will flow out from this working and continue to follow the path of least resistance, to wear down the systems of oppression so that we can achieve a foundation of equality from underneath all of that rubble. I acknowledge and thank the energies of Earth, the ground under our feet, the physical building blocks of our bodies, the atoms that make up all of physical reality, the metaphorical foundations of our beliefs and our habits, that we may build them anew as these changes are wrought, that we may always find firm footing only for a moment so that we can continue on, that we will support each other and nurture each other to allow growth, equality, and beautiful, beautiful diversity now and into the future and the past. And though the lights are all down, know that darkness gives us rest, gives us nurturing, it gives us peace. It gives us a place to retreat to when we need to heal. And it gives us a place from which to grow. The darkness is beautiful and nurturing. We all spend the first 9 months or so of our lives in complete darkness. And we are born from that out into the world. And when we arrive there, the light is blinding. It takes a balance of light and darkness to achieve equality. It takes a balance of light and darkness to understand and see. Absolute light is as blinding as absolute darkness. And both are involved always. Thank you. Good night.